Now that President Trump has moved to suspend a key nuclear treaty with Russia, President Vladimir Putin may be moving to develop powerful new missiles. Brian Todd has been looking into this for us. Brian, what kind of threat could this potentially pose?
Wolf, no sooner than the U.S. announced that it's suspending its involvement in the medium-range nuclear weapons treaty than Vladimir Putin was crowing about the missiles he's got in development. Now, the missiles that Putin is talking about could threaten all of Europe and American forces there.
Tonight, new concerns about a Cold War-style missile showdown between America and its biggest nuclear rival, Russia, after Vladimir Putin announced he wants to create a new medium-range nuclear-tipped missile with supersonic capabilities, similar to this.
Not only are they far faster, so they're incredibly difficult to intercept, but they also have very low flight time, so there's very little warning or possibility for the defending side to do much of anything about it.
Experts say Putin could be ready to deploy that missile, which would be capable of flying faster than the speed of sound within a few years. More concerning, they say, is that the Russian leader wants to modify a dangerous missile already in his arsenal. It's a cruise missile called the Caliber, similar to an American Tomahawk that Russia has previously launched from ships and submarines. The Russian president now wants to deploy a land-launched version.
Caliber realistically can threaten all of Europe.
Analysts say that means all of America's European allies and U.S. forces stationed throughout the continent will be in the line of fire of Putin's new missiles, each having a range of at least 1,000 miles.
There are about 6 or 7 major bases of all services throughout Europe, some major air bases, certainly the ground bases, which contain the 30,000 or so U.S. Army soldiers there, some naval bases in the Mediterranean.
Putin's push to improve his arsenal comes just days after the U.S. announced it is suspending a key Cold War treaty, the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, or INF. That deal forced the U.S. and Russia to eliminate the same kinds of missiles that Putin is now talking about developing, which can fly between 300 and 3,400 miles. The U.S. accused Russia of violating that treaty by secretly testing and deploying those missiles. The U.S. says if Russia doesn't back down, it will withdraw completely. The Russians deny they have violated the deal. Over the weekend, Putin went as far as to promise he would not act first.
Russia will not deploy medium or short-range weapons unless such weapons appear, either in Europe or in other parts of the world, until such weapons of American origin appear in these regions.
But experts say Putin has been aggressively trying to advance many of his weapons capabilities. Last year, he boasted of trying to develop a supersonic ICBM, or intercontinental ballistic missile, capable of reaching the United States. A nuclear-powered cruise missile with unlimited range, even an underwater nuclear-armed drone.
He will take every advantage he possibly can, to include an attempt at new military confrontations conventionally. He's going to push it until someone pushes back on him.
Now, a key question tonight that we have posed to weapons experts: do U.S. forces have the capability to shoot down some of these new Russian missiles that Putin has just announced he's developing? Analysts say U.S. forces can shoot down those Caliber missiles, but not if several of them are fired at once. They say American forces do not have the capability to shoot down any kind of supersonic missiles, although the American side is working on that. They don't have it yet, Wolf.
All right, Brian, does Putin have the resources, specifically we're talking about the money, to develop all those advanced weapons systems that he talks about and engage in an arms race with the United States?
Wolf, Michael Kaufman, a respected analyst on the Russian military, he told me today that the Russians have more money for this than they're ever given credit for. He says the Russians are going to have the money to develop these systems through the 2020s. Beyond that, though, they may be a little bit stretched. They may not be able to produce those weapons in large quantities, but this arms race could be on for at least another decade.
Brian Todd reporting for us. Thanks very much. Coming up.